Welcome to the College Investor Audio Show, where we talk about the biggest issues impacting millennial money, from student loan debt to side hustles to building wealth. We will show you how to get out of debt so that you can build real wealth for the future.
Hello, welcome to the show today. So glad you're here. Okay, so being on top of your finances means that financial mistakes become fewer and farther between, hopefully. But tax filing happens just once a year, and it's easy to make mistakes that lead to overpaying the IRS. Grr, don't overpay the IRS. When that happens, filers do have the opportunity to correct their mistakes by filing IRS Form 1040X. Once the amended return is processed, the IRS cuts overpaying taxpayers an extra refund check. Phew! If you've ever made that mistake on your return, you may have the opportunity to correct it. So we dive into how to file an amended tax return. Let's get right to it. Okay, so first of all, what is amending a tax return anyway? Amending a tax return is the process of correcting a tax return that you've already filed. Most people choose to file an amended tax return when they realize they can get a larger refund based on a mistake they made during the filing process. Some people have to file amended returns based on IRS notifications. These types of amendments typically come with taxes due. The IRS allows people to correct their mistakes and get the money they overpaid by filing IRS Form 1040X. To correct issues with your tax return, you generally have to file an amended return within 3 years of the date you originally filed your return, or 2 years from the time you paid the taxes for that year. So, for instance, if you paid your 2019 return on March 1st of 2020, then you have until March 1st, 2023 to file an amended tax return. I hope that makes sense. So now that we know what an amended return is, why should you amend your tax return? Well, of course, the primary reason, which we touched on, is to correct a mistake that affects the amount of tax due in a specific year. An amended return may result in owing additional taxes due or getting a larger refund. A few major issues that will likely affect the amount owed include incorrect filing status, claiming the incorrect number of dependents, changes to your total income, including deductions in business income, in case you forgot to deduct those legitimate business expenses, and then claiming tax deductions or credits that you didn't originally claim. And then, of course, we ask, when should you do this amended return? Well, you have 3 years, like we just discussed, from your original filing date to file that amended return. You don't want to sit on it for months on end, but you don't want to file too early either. The IRS warns that people who are expecting a refund from their original tax return should not file an amended return until after they have received the expected refund. That leads us to how to actually amend a tax return. So just as we recommend using tax software to file your normal tax return, we also recommend using software to file your amended return. The only way to e-file your amended tax return is to use a tax software product, by the way. Each software has slightly different steps, but these are the general steps you'll need to follow to amend your return. Step 1, gather your documents. So to file your tax return, you will need your original return and then any documents that will support the changes to the tax return. To get your original return, you can either access the return via your tax software. You'll typically have access for a year or more, or you can just get a copy from the IRS directly, and you can find a link to that inside this article at thecollegeinvestor.com. But aside from your original return, you're going to need documents that support the change you're going to be making to your return. For example, a parent claiming an additional child as a result of a child custody settlement needs evidence of the final settlement. Those who are claiming forgotten credits or even deductions might need receipts supporting their claim. And if you forgot to file a claim or maybe a portion of your income, you're going to likely need a 1099 NEC, your W-2, or another 1099 source to support that change. Step 2. Choose how to fill out your 1040X. It's theoretically possible to prepare a 1040X by hand and then just mail it in. However, we recommend using a CPA or tax software to do the heavy lifting for you. Filers who used a CPA for the tax year they are amending should probably go back and talk to their CPA about the cost structure. You might be able to enlist the CPA to file an amended return at no cost or a limited cost, especially if the CPA should have caught the issue. If you choose to use tax software, we typically recommend that you use whatever software you used to originally file your return. For example, if you used Free Tax USA to file your 2019 return, you should probably use Free Tax USA to amend your 2019 return. And step 3, complete the 1040X. To complete your amended return, you're going to need to follow the instructions from the software product you choose. We have links to the instructions for H&R Block, TurboTax, Free Tax USA, and Tax Act all ready to go for you at thecollegeinvestor.com. Again, it's right inside this article. Form 1040X has only 3 major columns that need to be filled out, and we show you a graph and different columns and how to fill it out step by step, again, inside the article at thecollegeinvestor.com. I sound like a broken record. Anyway, let's move on to step 4. Submit the 1040X with supporting documentation. The IRS supports e-filing using tax software products, such as the software we talked about earlier. Filers can currently e-file returns for tax years from 2019 through 2021. The IRS doesn't allow filers to e-file forms they filled out by hand. Keep that in mind. If you want to fill out your 1040X without software, you have to mail your return and then the supporting documentation to the IRS. If you choose this, you're going to want to mail it to the address we have at thecollegeinvestor.com. If you are amending your return based on instructions from the IRS, mail the return to the address in the official IRS notification. Remember, you need to submit IRS Form 1040X and any changed schedules or forms that support the change. Now, our last step, step number 5, track the status. You can track the status of your amended return using the IRS website. During peak tax filing season, amended returns are going to probably take around 16 weeks or more to process. Unless there's maybe some sort of error with your return, the IRS will eventually get your money back to you. And here are some final thoughts on filing amended tax returns. I know it can be frustrating to learn that you left money on the table by making a mistake on your taxes. It happens to the best of us. But the IRS does allow tax filers to reclaim that money that is legitimately theirs. You probably won't want to spend your Saturday afternoon filing and preparing the return, but it can lead to an extra refund, a few $100, maybe even thousands of dollars. Never know. While filing is a hassle, it's probably worth it to get the money that is due to you. Plus, you're giving the government a free loan. Who wants to do that? Anyway, thanks so much for stopping by today. That is our show. I hope it was helpful, and if you kind of found it hard to follow along with the steps, please go ahead and check out the article at thecollegeinvestor.com. There's tons of stuff and resources there for you while you're there as well. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you real soon.